hello, and good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in to Maya's Minute. It's Monday. Just left the doctor's office. I have a doctor's appointment today, but I did not want this day to pass. I didn't want this day to go by without me hopping on and just talking to my people, just talking to you all and just sharing. I was reading earlier this morning, and I was reading First Samuel chapter 16. I was supposed to be reading. I think I was supposed to get to 17, but I never made it there because chapter 16 like literally just stopped me in my tracks. Good afternoon. I was reading First Samuel chapter 16, and as I was reading, like, this story just started to form in my head, and I just started writing. But I just really came on here because I said somebody needs to hear this today, and I don't know if it's you. I see one person is watching. Maybe the word is for you today, but I just want to encourage you to, you may feel like you're in a place of you're being overlooked, or you're not thought of, or people think small of you, or they discount you. But hey, Trina. Hey. Um, I just want to encourage you and encourage your heart to know that you may feel that way, but even though you may feel that way, God still loves you. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what I read. So what I read again was First Samuel chapter 16, and it was when Samuel went to Jesse to ask about his sons, because God sent him to anoint the next king. So you all know the story. I'm sorry, I don't have my Bible with me, so I'm going to be paraphrasing, tell you in my words. He went and asked him to, to see his sons. So it says that I think he called all his sons, but he didn't call all of his sons. He called all of his sons, and when Samuel first saw the first one, I think his name was Eliab. He saw the first one. He thought, "Hi, Logan. Good afternoon." He thought for sure like this must be the one because of his appearance. And good afternoon, Daniel. But God said, no, that's not the one. So he sent the next one. He sent the next one. And pretty much all those sons had gone before Samuel. And Samuel had to ask Jesse, like, are these all your sons? Because it's none of these are him. So he said, oh, I have one more. And they had to send for David, because David was out tending the flock, tending the sheep. So I want to pause right there, because that kind of hit my heart a little bit, because I'm like, that's his own father. Like, his own father did not even think enough of him, like to call him. When he said, like, bring your sons in so I could see them, like, he called all of them, but he didn't even call David. And Samuel had to ask him, like, are these all, like, do you have any more sons? So they sent for David. So it's like they didn't even think enough of him to even call him in, so that Samuel could see him, or so that he could look upon him. But they called him in, and when Samuel saw him, he said, yes, this is the one. And he anointed him as king. Now I'm gonna fast forward. This was later on. You all know the story again. Yes, Trina, Daniel the shepherd boy, exactly. If you all know the story, if not, go back and read First Samuel chapter 16. So I'm fast forwarding. So there came a time where the Spirit of God was like vexing Saul. So Saul was being tormented by this spirit. So one of Saul's servants said, well, I remember one of Jesse's sons, David, he plays the lyre. So they sent for David. They went to Jesse and said, hey, Saul, this is me paraphrasing, Saul, needs David. He wants your son. So Jesse sent David there, and when he got there and he played the lyre for King Saul, it was able to, it calmed his spirit, and he was able to, to calm him down. So eventually it said, like, David, like, found favor in the eyes of Saul. Like, Saul, this is me paraphrasing. Saul loved his work, or he found favor. He found favor with him. So Saul ended up sending word back to Jesse and saying, basically, I want to keep your son longer. I guess it was time for David to go back, but he pretty much said he wanted him to stay. He wanted him to stay in his service, and he ended up making David one of his armor bearers, which means that, he had to be very close to Saul, and he had to be someone that Saul trusted a lot to make him armor bearer. But the thought that I had today, like, just reading this, was that David's family, well, I guess his own father, kind of discounted him, as I said, because when Samuel came to look for the king, they didn't even call David in to even, go before Samuel. They didn't even call him in. They had to send for him. And David was out doing what he did, which was tending the sheep. And tending the sheep may have been like something that maybe people frowned upon. It wasn't like a glorious job. Like, his brothers were older. They were soldiers. They were, they were in the war later on, but all afraid of Goliath. But that's another story. But they were soldiers. So it's like they kind of looked down on him. But as he was doing God's work out there tending the sheep, he was being prepared. He was being prepared for something that he didn't even know that he was being prepared for, because he had to kill a lion and kill a bear, like, with his bare hands. But none of this, I guess, at the time, he really knew, like, hey, this is preparing me for something that I'm gonna face later in life. But I said that to say that wherever you are in your walk, or in your life, or your journey right now, it may feel like it's no use for it, or you may feel like there's no purpose in it, or you may feel like it doesn't mean much to anyone right now. But if you look at David's life, he was being prepared for something that he did not know he was being prepared for. He was not thought of. It seems like he was not thought much of by his family. But when he got into when he got to Saul's house, or to Saul's kingdom, he found favor with Saul. But that was all a part of God's plan. It's like God was setting him up for a higher position. God was setting him up for something more that he had for him. And he was prepared for it just because of the work that he was already doing. So I just want to say to you that it may be something that you feel like it may seem insignificant right now, or maybe you might feel insignificant right now, your life, or whatever it is that you're doing, whatever place you are. But I just want to say that wherever you are is not insignificant, because God is preparing you for what he has for you later. He is preparing you for that higher place, for that higher rank, that higher position. You can't see that right now, of course, because we can only see our situation right now. But God is above, and he can see down the street, around the corner. Like, he can see the big picture. He can see the whole plan that he has for your life. We can only see right now, But I just wanted to encourage you to don't feel that your life, or whatever you are experiencing right now, is of no significance. Somebody's watching. Somebody's taking notice of you, what you're doing, and how you're even doing it. Because if you think about it, that servant recommended David. They sent for David. They went to get him. That means it's someone who had observed David. He had to know David. He had to know that David's character, David's personality, for somebody to send for him. That's the favor of God on his life. because God was just putting things in place to get him to the place that he had for him. He couldn't see it at the time. He was out there in the out there in the field, like shepherding his sheep, just, doing what he was doing at the time. But it was all a part of the plan. It was all he was being set up for what God had for him later. So once again, wherever you are right now, somebody is watching. Someone is taking notice of what you are doing. They're taking notice of your character. They're taking notice of your life. And you may be the only God that they are seeing right now. So continue to trust God and know that wherever you are, he is continuing to prepare you for what he has for you later. All right? Later in your life. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Daniel, Katrina, and Logan. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Myya's Minute. And if you are not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. All right? Thank you. Bye-bye.